All right, it's district breakdown time. We are talking 14-6A, and last year, Spring Westfield put together a heck of a season. They almost actually took out the state title winners in Duncanville. It came down to the last possession where Duncanville would knock it down in the end zone and get that pick. Talk about how this district may go across, and I haven't even introduced you yet, but that's my man Jon Poorman, Houston Chronicle. I got to give him his respect. But now that I've introduced you yet again, let's talk about what you think is going to happen in this district.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to bet against the Westfield Mustangs here. I mean, you look at what they've done year after year over the past decade plus. I mean, you're talking about district championship after district championship, and last year was no different. They were absolutely dominant last year. I don't think anybody in district play even came remotely close to them on the scoreboard. And then you look at what they did in the postseason. As you mentioned, they had a really tough game there against, the state champion Duncanville, which, like you said, came down to the fourth quarter. So, you have to like where they're at. Obviously, they have some big losses, some big holes that they'll have to fill. Notably, quarterback PJ Hatter is gone. He's up at Texas State now. So. This is a kid that accounted for, I think, over 5,000 total yards last season, after transferring over from Klein Oak. So that's obviously the biggest question mark for the Mustangs is who's going to be behind center. But it seems like, Westfield just pulls these guys out of nowhere year after year, and there's somebody who ends up playing really well at that position. So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, the state of this district, it's going to run through Westfield once again, I believe.
Yeah, Spring ISD always has success in this district. Those teams usually make 3 of the 4 spots. But last year we were really surprised. We're not surprised, but we were pleasantly surprised in the playoffs by Decaney. They made a nice little run there. I know they had Jonah Wilson at receiver, but they bring back Tanook Hines, and can they kind of build off of that success they had in the postseason to, I don't know, maybe take a shot at Westfield? They probably won't surpass them, but maybe finish a nice second place.
Yeah, Decaney is definitely a team to keep an eye on. As you mentioned, they kind of had a breakthrough year last year and did some good things in the playoffs there. Ultimately came up short, but, had a heck of a season. They bring back a lot of good talent. I'm looking at some of their guys that they have rushing the passer in particular. That defense is going to be really solid. I think, you lose a player like Jonah Wilson. Obviously, he was an X factor for that offense. Had over 1,300 yards as a senior, I believe, receiving. But they've got some pieces back on that side of the ball too. And now these guys that are returning, they've been through the fires. They've been through in some tough playoff games and had some success. So you gotta like the direction the Wildcats are headed for sure.
Now, if history repeats itself, the Spring ISD teams probably get those 3 spots, which leaves an Aldine school to kind of get the 4th one. Is there any one of those schools that kind of got your attention?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the standings last year, obviously Eisenhower and Nimitz both got into the playoffs. Those are 2 of the teams that have had some success in recent years. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on them. Eisenhower obviously loses a big piece in Ryan Niblett. They're highly rated receiver there. So it's going to be interesting to see. Spring had a little bit of a down year, finished 4-6 and missed the playoffs. That's not typically what we see from the Lions. So it'll be really interesting to see if they can kind of bounce back and get back on track to where they were and, competing at the top of this district with Westfield. But yeah, I mean, you're looking at Westfield and Decaney there, maybe as the top 2 contenders. And then really kind of those last 2 spots may be up for grabs between, Eisenhower, Nimitz, Spring, and who knows, maybe there's this surprise team out of Davis, MacArthur, and Aldine that can kind of, make a huge jump this year and possibly contend down the stretch. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be an interesting district as far as, filling out those final couple of playoff spots.
It definitely seems to be a huge drop off between 2 and 3, and then maybe 4 and 5. Who knows? But there's definitely separations, and there's some tiers in that district. But we'll see how it plays out. I appreciate you joining with me, Jon. We're going to talk 15-6A next week. That's some Klein schools, and we'll see how that one shakes out.
Sounds good.